Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. The intention of this podcast is to open your mind, get curious about yourself and connect to the power you hold within. I am your host, Karen Maloney, an inside-out coach, helping you to believe in yourself and manifest your desires. Check out the podcast, available on all platforms, and go to my website, www.karenmaloney.com for all info. Hello everybody. It's me, Karen Maloney, and thanks for tuning in for another episode. I hope you're all doing well. How are you keeping? Can you believe here we are in February already? Where does the time go? And just a reminder that I'm doing coaching packages, 6-week coaching packages and silent counseling sessions, and they are been really beneficial to people. People are loving silent counselling and getting massive shifts as well. So reach out, go to my website karenmaloney.com or send me an email support@karenmaloney.com if you would like more info. So then today's guest is Christina Rice, and Christina is an intuitive channel, also known as Christina the Channel. She's a celebrity healer, the founder of AHI 7D Energy Healing, and author of the upcoming book Manifestation Mastery: How to Shift Your Reality and Co-Create with the Universe. She has been featured in top publications such as Forbes, Entrepreneur and BuzzFeed, and is the host of her own spirituality podcast of 6+ years called Christina the Channel. Christina never believed in spirituality or manifestation until she reached her breaking point with multiple chronic illnesses, which led her to discovering energy healing and her intuitive gifts. By age 25, she had fully healed and built a 7-figure business with the help of divinely channeled messages, energy work, brain rewiring, manifestation, and her background as a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. Christina has transformed thousands of lives and businesses by helping people expand their perception of what is possible, tap into their intuition, and master the energetics of their health, relationships, and businesses. And I loved connecting with Christina for this conversation, and she shares a little bit about her own personal struggles with chronic illness and reaching her breaking point and going to see an intuitive and then being led on this energy healing path and doing what she does now. She shares so much wisdom in this conversation as well, but especially lots of questions that you could jot down and do in your own time and journaling. And she talks about manifestation, and she talks about how we keep ourselves so limited by being afraid to dream, or that we set our dreams too small. So moving beyond our limits, 10xing our dreams and thinking of what else might be possible for us, because in the quantum reality, all possibilities exist. If we can think of something, it exists. So a really interesting and fascinating conversation. And Christina also shares a free 5D Ascension Activator for anyone who wants to start unlocking some of their gifts as well. And that is available on her website, www.christinathechannel.com. That's her website, and in her freebie section she has it. But also go to my website, karenmaloney.com, click the podcast section, and all links will be there as well from the show notes to her work, her socials, and the 5D Ascension Activator. So enjoy this conversation and let me know what you think. Hello everybody. Welcome. It's me, Karen Maloney, and thanks for tuning in for another episode. I have the wonderful Christina the Channel joining me today. So first of all, you're very welcome, Christina, and thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, something that's really springing out to talk about is manifestation and all things manifestation, but how the conversation will evolve, we'll see how that goes. But maybe if you would share a little bit on your background to your work, just to help the audience to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So where it really started was I had some chronic illnesses that popped up when I was in college. And that really led me down the path of health and wellness and learning about the power of nutrition and lifestyle changes. And through that, I really became a different person, because there was a period when I was about 20 when, I thought I was going to die from these different illnesses, and the Western medical system really wasn't supporting me. So I realized I really have to take control of this myself. And that was overlapping with a lot of mental health issues that I had struggled with for a long time. I was struggling with depression for a long time, pretty bad anxiety. I was having panic attacks often. And when I kind of hit my lowest point with my chronic illnesses, that was a real turning point for me, where I realized I need to take control of this and create a life I love, because I don't want to live my life anymore feeling like I'm just going through the motions and waking up every day dreading it and doing what I'm supposed to do, hating it the whole way. Like, when does this end? When does this end? This can't be it. And so through learning more about holistic healing and nutrition and lifestyle changes and, meditating, I started to see just the power of allowing the body to heal itself, really. And I became really passionate about sharing what I was learning. I learned that there are a lot of people out there who were in similar situations to me, and I just really wanted to help other people who are also struggling. And that was about the time when I started my podcast, and I had a blog prior that really shifted into more health and wellness. And that was really when my platform started to grow, because a lot of people who were struggling with similar things and not getting help from more traditional resources were finding a lot of help through what I was sharing and what I was learning. And then things moved along, and my health, I'd gotten a lot better, and then my health was kind of tanking again and going up and down, and I just couldn't understand it, because I felt like I was doing everything right. I had seen all the top specialists. I was on all the protocols, pristine diet, taking care of all my lifestyle factors, plenty of sleep, all that stuff, and I still was having problems. And so my functional medicine doctor at the time recommended I go see an intuitive. And at that point, I was willing to try anything. And so I went to see her, and that was really the trigger point for the rest of my life changing. After that, it was like a series of synchronicities and people walking into my life and experiences happening that were starting to just open up the spiritual path for me. And she told me, she said, you're going to do something like this. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm obsessed with this health and wellness stuff, and I'm not intuitive like that. And she's like, you just haven't realized it yet. So shortly after that, I had a dream to become an energy healer, a Reiki practitioner. And I didn't even know what Reiki was, but it was a pretty profound dream. And I was like, I can't ignore this. So I bought a book on Reiki, and then I had someone come to my house to help me with feng shui. I was starting to explore all the spiritual stuff, and she saw that book on Reiki, and she said, I'm a Reiki master. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I want to train with you. So I trained with her for about 6 to 8 months. And it was through that training and starting to work as a Reiki practitioner that a lot of my intuitive gifts started really opening up, and I was starting to really see my body heal in different ways. And then I started incorporating that into my practice. I was working with a lot of clients who had chronic illness, chronic gut issues, hormonal imbalances. And I noticed that as I was incorporating a lot of the energy healing and brain rewiring. So I had been learning a lot about neural reprogramming, working with the brain and the energy body. People were healing really quickly when it seemed like nothing else was working. And that was the same experience I had. So I was kind of always doing that energy work as a part of what was more public facing, which was the health and wellness. Then I kind of hit a point where I naturally fell into more business coaching. I had a lot of people around me asking how I was building my practice so quickly and asking if they could hire me. And I was using the same principles that I was using with my physical body and my clients who were struggling with chronic illness in my business to help it grow. And I started doing a lot more energy work and just and brain rewiring around things related to my business. And I was seeing it just exponentially grow. And that was kind of more my approach with business as well. I understand all of the 3D stuff, but there's more we could do. I'm very interested in how can we do things better, faster, easier, and in a really aligned way, right? Because there's no point in my mind if it doesn't feel aligned the whole way through, if I'm not even enjoying the process. So started falling more into business coaching. And then when 2020 hit, and I had kind of been doing all this intuitive work in the background the whole way through for years at that point, Spirit just kind of knocked me on my butt and said, you got to go all the way into this. So I made a hard pivot, and I just went full spirituality, more my public facing brand. And things just started opening ever since, in terms of just opportunities in that way. I had been, channeling in different ways for a while. My psychic gifts were very open, but I started trance channeling around that same time in 2020 when it was just naturally coming through me. And the messages I was getting there were super expansive for me, really helpful. And as I started sharing them with my community, I was just seeing how that was really helping them as well. So for me with manifestation, it has I wasn't really into that for a while because it sounded really fluffy. And when I started learning about like how does energy work? How does energy flow? That was interesting for me because it all started to make sense, and everything about, why things were getting attracted into my life, where I was blocking things from coming into my life, it all started to make sense and it didn't feel so fluffy anymore. And for me, a lot of that was with having so many energy healing clients. And I started to see the entire world from that perspective of like, how is this showing up on the energy body, or how is this working energetically? And I really believe that when we understand how energy flows, it's so liberating, because then you just realize, okay, well, where am I blocking what I want from coming in for me? Right. And so for me, it was just implementing this in my life and supporting my clients in it. And I was just seeing incredible results again and again and again. And, I think a lot of people don't realize how readily like miracles are available to them if they're really open to them, right? And I experienced that very much when I downloaded a Hai, which was it's similar to Reiki in the sense of it's hands-on energy healing. It can also be sent virtually, which is how I do most of my work, but it's just a different vibration. And I think a lot of people have experienced, as the frequency of the planet shifts and we shift at a cellular level, a lot of the old tools just aren't really serving us anymore. They're not maybe having the same effect. And I had hit that point with Reiki where I just felt like it wasn't doing anything for me anymore. And so when a high came in, it's so potent, the frequency is much higher. And I was feeling that in my body, and the sessions were faster and bigger results. And it was really supportive and just unlocking a lot of that dormant DNA and aligning with manifestation. And I started to really use that energy to align myself with what I was calling in and attracting, and obviously, clearing out any energetic blocks, all the typical stuff. So that has been a core tool for me for sure, in my life. And I'm just really passionate about like sharing these principles with people in a grounded, tangible way. And like, how do we actually apply this in our lives to make positive change and shift, right? Because it's one thing to talk about it, it's another to apply it. And I have used this in many aspects of my life, and I know what it feels like to feel like your life just to feel stuck, to feel so stuck, and to feel hopeless. Like I've been deep in that. And, if anything I share helps people get out of that energy, then, that's my why. So that's a bit about how I got here.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing all that. And I'm sure in a lot of ways as well, people might be able to relate. And it's certainly a lot of people who have gone on an inner or a curious or an awakening path. Often it has been something where conventional Western society wasn't providing answers. So it was like that self-responsibility, taking things into your own hands and looking for other ways and other answers, I suppose. And I'm curious to know, what was it when you saw the intuitive? What was it that really clicked in for you that began to shift everything for you in your health and wellness? And, well, even as you mentioned, rewiring your brain and connecting more to that intuitive part of you.
I think there were a few things. I think on one level, there's just like an activation, right? When you connect with the right person at the right time, it can kind of just trigger this whole other timeline opening up for you, right? And I know that I play that role for many people. Like someone might come to me for an energy healing session and they're not spiritual at all, and then after they're around me, like all of these things just start opening up. They start seeing signs everywhere. There are all these synchronicities. They're talking to their guides. So I think that's a pretty common thing for people to kind of like activate others. So I think on one level, she acted as that first activator for me that kind of just triggered my openness to all of these other experiences. But I think it allowed me to believe and to be open to how all of this could unfold, because I sat there and it was a 90-minute session and I didn't really say anything. I just said, what can you tell me about my health? What can you tell me about my relationships? What can you tell me about my business? So that was really all I said. And she just sat there and was telling me all this stuff, and every single thing she said, she was very future oriented. I mean, to this day, one of the most incredible intuitives I've ever come across. She was very future oriented, and every single thing she said was true. Like every single thing she said came true to the date. Like she was predicting everything. And I actually have never met somebody that's that precognitive, like future oriented, and that on point. And even in some current things I was struggling with, like with my health, actually, she brought up some things that no tests were going to pick up. And then when she said, look into this, it's something called hydrogen sulfide SIBO. She was right. And I was like, whoa, well, I'm getting more helpful information from this intuitive than I am in, tens of thousands of dollars of tests, and clinical trials and all of these things I was doing. So I thought, I mean, I have nothing to lose here. I have nothing to lose here. And I think that there was something in working with her that just kind of activated my intuition to open up. And I felt safe in it because I realized, oh, this works, like this is real. And then that's when I started paying more attention to my dreams and signs around me. And I thought, I have nothing to lose in just following this. And one thing led to another. And, I think it's one of the simplest but most fun things about being on a spiritual journey. It's like a giant treasure hunt. It's like a giant treasure hunt that's so fun the whole way through, and you just follow the signs and listen to your intuition, and you're guided there. And it's so cool to sit back and think, whoa, I never would have expected that this would lead to this, to this, to this.
Yeah, it's so true. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like that when you are in this more spiritual path, it's like synchronicities and miracles are standard. You still might get surprised going, oh my God, like you said, I can't actually believe that this is what it led to, but they're just the standard because the information, the signs are always there, but we're not necessarily attuned or have that belief to actually follow or face our own fears and actually, move on whatever is coming through. So I'd love for you as well just to even explain a little bit about how energy actually works and flows and how it can help us when it comes to manifestation and actually attracting what we do want.
Yeah, so great question. There are a few different ways I can speak to this. So, everything is frequency. Everything is at a certain vibration. And so you can go back to, people talk about the law of attraction, the law of resonance, whatever angle you want to go at it with, like attracts like, right? So whatever I'm vibrating at, whatever my frequency is, I'm going to attract more of that to me, right? And so if I'm at a certain frequency, then, or if let's say I'm manifesting something, I want something into my reality, my job is to become a vibrational match for that, and then it comes straight to me, right? So that's a pretty, I feel like, basic, well-known manifestation concept. What's more important here is understanding all of the things that are blocking us or holding us down from being the highest vibrational versions of ourselves, because we're naturally very high vibrational. We're naturally beings of love, right? And what are all the things that are holding us down where we're not consistently vibrating at that frequency? So what are the things dragging us down? And then also, where are the places where we're blocking ourselves from actually receiving it, right? Because often people be manifesting something and they're saying, it's not coming in, and it's right on the other side of them, but they just haven't made the energetic space, right? So if I want something to come in for me, I have to make sure that I have the space for it to be, right? So I might be a vibrational match. Let's say I am manifesting my life partner, right? And I'm very clear on that. And I am a vibrational match for this person, but I am busy all the time. I am working from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then I go hang out with my friends, and I'm just busy all the time, right? And I just don't have any space in my life for another person, right? That's a way that you could be energetically blocking yourself from actually receiving what you want from coming into you, right? And then there are all of the deeper energy blocks, which is why I love like working with the energy body and energy healing and really seeing, where is this person? What is this person storing in their body, right? Are they storing anger? Are they storing fear? What are the emotions that we're holding on to that we haven't released that are keeping our frequency lower, right? Because when we can start to bring those to the surface and release those energies that aren't serving us, your vibration, again, naturally rises. And I find that the key to raising your frequency, which when you raise your frequency overall, manifestation becomes your lifestyle. It's easy, it's effortless. You simply direct your focus, or you don't even have to necessarily, but you're already vibrating at such a high frequency that what's a match for you just flows straight to you. Versus, I think the way a lot of people view manifestation, it's like trying to lose belly fat by doing a ton of crunches. It's just not going to work. It's just making it way harder than it has to be. Versus supporting your body and getting healthy and losing body fat overall, right? So that's the kind of the difference. And for me, I like to look at it as what is the root cause work of manifestation? This is the personal development stuff. This is what in your life is out of alignment, right? What in your life is pulling you down, is taking up space, and isn't making you feel good, right? What are all of the low frequency emotions that we are holding on to that aren't really serving us anymore? What are my limiting beliefs around receiving that which I want? Because if I have a belief that I'm not worthy of it, deserving of it, that it's not possible, well, then I'm not going to receive it, right? Because basically the universe will support you in whatever your beliefs are. So if I'm believing I'm not deserving of making $1 million this year, well, the universe is going to support me in that, right? So those are some angles to look at it from. The other side is what makes you really magnetic is when you are potently emitting, radiating your unique energetic signature, right? So everybody has a unique frequency that they're coming here with. It's like your energetic fingerprint, right? And I think about all of these things that drag us down or kind of block us as if you're a diamond and you have dirt all over you, right? So you're just not shining that brightly. And if you're not shining that brightly, then what's for you can't see you, right? So it's sort of like at that point, you're a weak magnet. So if we can clear all that dirt, right? If we can release all the things that aren't really us, if we can step into our most authentic selves, it's all about authenticity. This is what makes you magnetic. And at that point, you're so clear in your frequency that what is truly a vibrational match for you comes straight to you. It can find you, and you are just very magnetic naturally rather than having to effort to pull it to you. So those are some, I know there was a lot there, but those are some key things that I like to point out when you're starting to understand how does energy flow.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. And lots of questions there as well for people to explore within themselves. And I don't know where your line of thinking is when it comes to manifesting and this idea that we're manifesting 24/7. It's not something we switch on or off. It's 24/7 always. And when you look back on your journey and your chronic illnesses and that, do you see that piece of how you were manifesting those in your life as well?
100%. I agree with that personally, that we are manifesting all the time. And my illness, I absolutely manifested in a number of ways. And obviously when I was in the middle of it, I didn't see it that way. I mean, I wasn't even really thinking along those lines, but looking back, I certainly see it. And some things that I think about are all of the low frequency emotions that I was just storing. I had so much shame, guilt, anger, sadness that I was just stuffing down and repressing. And all of that was just stored in my body energetically. And at that point, what is my frequency? When I'm not feeling my emotions or expressing my emotions and just storing all of that energy within me, and also storing other people's stuff. I didn't really know how to handle growing up how empathic I was and how much I was picking up on the energy around me. And so I kind of just held on to all of it, right? So at that point, I'm holding on to everybody else's stuff, and that is really pulling me down. For me, I was kind of going through this lifelong existential crisis. I started asking this question when I was really young of why am I here? What is my purpose? I need to connect to my purpose. And I really struggled with that all in middle school and high school. And I would ask the universe, just show me my purpose. I need to know my purpose. I was obsessed with that. And when I think about that, well, I got there, right? And so I think for me, a big part of I was asking for connecting with my purpose. I was asking for true happiness, and the path to get there ended up being my chronic illness. Without my chronic illness, I would not have been pushed to where I am now. I probably wouldn't have found spirituality. I probably would never have started channeling. I would never have explored all of the things that I'm super into now. I mean, I would have never changed my diet for sure, if I didn't have all of those issues with my body. And so there were so many things that I learned through that journey, struggling with my different autoimmune diseases. And I asked for the end result, right? And so it got me to such a better place. And I look back now and I'm like, that was a crucial part of my journey. At the time, I didn't realize what I was asking for, right? And that's why we always say, be careful what you ask for when you're manifesting. Those are some of the ways that I definitely manifested it in.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And as a person, I've had many existential crises as well in my life. And that
Mm-hmm.
question of who am I and why am I here plagued me for so long as well. But again, it was the ultimate kind of awakener to bring me to where I am now and having these conversations and what I do in my work and everything as well. So they are a crucial part. But again, like you say, we don't see it when we're in it. We just often move into this victimhood mentality and why me. But actually when we step into, okay, what part am I playing in this? There's more empowerment, this sense of responsibility of, oh, actually, if I got myself here, I can actually get myself out of it as well. But that's the learning and that's the work. So, what would you say for someone who is feeling really stuck in some lower vibrations, whether it's illness or whatever, but just really stuck in those patterns? It feels all consuming. They may have the conscious thought to try break out of it or make a change, but keep cycling in the same kind of cycle as well. What would you say are keys for them to help them raise their vibration and raise it consistently, not just up down, but to be able to raise it and stay at a new vibration and frequency?
Yeah. So what I would say if somebody's feeling like really, really stuck, it's you start with one thing at a time, right? I was just talking about this earlier with somebody, like the way I live my life now, it wasn't like one day I woke up and I said, I'm gonna make all these changes. It
Yeah.
was slowly but surely. And I feel like once you get a small taste of what it feels like to feel good, then you're really driven to make shifts in every other area of your life. And I
Mhm.
personally think that the two biggest places to start that make the biggest difference, like I would start either in one of these two places. First would be with food. Honestly, and it's not a coincidence that so many people who are very into health and wellness also end up going down a spiritual path because you're naturally cleansing your body of all of the processed foods,
Mhm.
the that lower vibrational food that is clouding your consciousness. It is calcifying your pineal gland, right? And so if we can just naturally open up our body and kind of like resensitize ourselves, this just makes you feel so much better overall, and you can get that mental clarity. And as somebody who struggled with depression and anxiety, I have seen very strongly how much what I eat affects my mental health. It is like
Mhm.
night and day. It is like night and day. And I wish that was something I had learned about earlier, but it's all on perfect timing. And so I would say really starting to eat a high vibrational diet, and just starting there, because that is going to move the needle a lot. Because when you start to feel good in your body, making other decisions that help you feel good can be much easier, and it
Mhm.
also just allows your allows you to think more clearly, right? So I think that starting with your food, and nutrition, water, like that is a really tangible and important place to start, to be honest.
Mhm.
The other place that I would say to start is that really moves the needle is in the people that you hang out with. This is huge, and it's very triggering for people, but the people that you talk to the most, that you're around the most, you're exchanging energy with. And whether or not you realize it, you're probably picking up on a lot of their limiting beliefs as well. And so, something I always think about with whoever is in my inner circle, who I'm talking to the most, exchanging energy with, is this somebody that is expanding me? Is this somebody that is helping me raise my vibration? Right? If you think about, five friends in a room, if there's one super high frequency person, everybody else has the opportunity to rise to that person. But what if that person wants to raise their vibration? They need to be around higher vibrational people themselves. And you could go at it either way in terms of releasing relationships that aren't serving you, or kind of crowding that out with, how do I add in more high frequency people around me? But for me, and I've seen this with a lot of clients, starting to spend more of your time, putting more of your energy into people who do help you raise your frequency, and you'll just feel better after you're around them. This is something that is huge in helping to shift your vibration and giving you a taste of what it feels like to feel good. And I have this experience with people, like I'll go out to lunch with somebody and they'll say, after I talk to you, I feel so inspired. I feel so lit up. I feel so excited. I feel expanded. And
Mhm.
when you start to have that contrast, you start to maybe go back to old people in your life and you're like, I don't actually feel good. I feel down. I feel tired. I feel sad. I feel upset after I spend time with this person. And that can be kind of a rude awakening, but it's one of the biggest things that holds people back in their life. And I have seen it again and again, how releasing relationships that are draining my energy or dragging my energy down, releasing those relationships, so many things just naturally come into my reality that I've been manifesting as soon as I make that space, right? As soon as I release those relationships. And likewise, when I started really being intentional about, you know what, I want to hang out with really like conscious, high frequency people, I felt amazing. And suddenly I didn't want to settle for anything less. So those are two places that I would say to start, and start with one change. With relationships, it can look like, just knowing what your boundaries are. What are my boundaries?
Mm.
Getting really clear on how you want to feel in every relationship in your life, writing that down separate from thinking about anybody, and then asking, okay, who in my life helps me, supports me in feeling this way, and who doesn't, and being really honest with yourself. But for me, boundaries are so key for me with keeping my frequency high. And to me, that goes into all areas of my life.
Mm.
Boundaries with content I'm consuming as well, and thinking about that as well with who are you around the most. If you're watching TV that is, I don't know how I want to phrase this, but there's a lot of television, movies, music that is really low frequency. And I
Mhm.
noticed this. Like, I remember when I was in high school and college, I would listen to such depressing music, and it was just making me more depressed, right? And it's like, it sounds so simple, but
Mhm.
I'm very aware of what music I listen to, like what is affecting my subconscious, and all of those small changes make a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. One thing I always say as well is just start small, start where you're at, one thing at a time, and usually add something in as opposed to trying to eliminate and fight something. Just add in one healthy meal, even a week, or one exercise routine a week if you're doing none, and just start there because, like you say as well, it is a natural progression. And as you begin to raise your energy and vibration, you'll naturally begin to look at, ooh, what else makes me feel a bit restricted or constricted or crap, and what else can I release and what else can I add in to continue this feeling. And it's certainly how it happened for me as well. It just kind of progressed and progressed and progressed, and like you say, you become, well, now I say, like, it's so precious to me, my energy and how I feel.
Mhm.
And just something, one of the things that you mentioned in letting go of relationships that maybe don't make you feel good, or you come away from feeling a bit like drained or whatever, I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. So how do you help people as well to let go of relationships that maybe don't serve them anymore, but also to, or if someone, says a comment to them or something, not to take it personally?
Yeah. Well, what I'll say first is, the more you start to raise your frequency and like make these small changes, the things that don't feel good, that are still in your field, are going to stick out like a sore thumb. So it just really speaks to just one thing at a time. So people who are struggling with releasing relationships, I think that it's really valuable to ask yourself why. Right? Like, why
Mhm.
am I afraid to release this relationship? Because that's the good stuff, right? That's where we're really bringing our subconscious beliefs to the surface, and becoming aware of them, right? Is it, I'm afraid that I'm not going to have any friends? Is it afraid that
Mm.
I'm never going to find another partner? I'm going to be alone forever? Like, what is your fear? And bring that up and write it down, because often when you look at that, if you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm afraid to release this relationship because I'm scared I'm never going to meet somebody, I'm going to be alone the rest of my life. Is that really true? Is that really true? Right? And so this is, for me, I have a list of core beliefs that I really live by. And one is, if it's not this, it's something better, right? If it's not 100%
Mhm.
in alignment for me, if it's not making me feel so in flow and so expanded, because that's my natural state, if it's out of alignment in any way, then it's not for me. And when I release that, something better comes in. Right. And so if that's my core belief, and my ego is telling me, oh, if I release this relationship, I'll be alone forever. I mean, that's just not really true. Right. So then
Mhm.
what am I really afraid of? Why do I need to be scared? Right. And this is where, for me, learning how energy works was really empowering, because it helped me to release a lot of that fear around releasing relationships, because I knew, oh, I've seen this again and again. I know how energy flows. If I'm doing this frequency work and I'm raising my vibration, and I release this relationship where it's just not feeling good, it's not 100%, it's anything less than 100% of what I want. When I release that, naturally, now there's space, and the
Mhm.
people who really are for me and who are a match for me at this new frequency, of course, they're just going to come find me and come in. Right. And so that's why, like, when you really understand how energy works, that is what allowed me to release the fear. And you see it work. again and
Mm.
again and again. And that goes back to, making some of that energetic space where I see this all the time. Somebody will start to go down, this more spiritual path, and they're really raising their frequency, and they're realizing, wow, a lot of these people that were in my life that, I love them, but I'm feeling the frequency gap. I'm feeling it,
Mm.
and I am not feeling like I'm really getting expanded in these relationships anymore. That's okay. It doesn't mean that people are bad or wrong, and this is where we have such an interesting relationship with endings in society, where we've decided for some reason that a relationship ending is a bad thing. Why? It's a completion, it's a graduation. You've learned so many lessons, it served you at that time, and now you've shifted, your frequency has shifted, and it's not in alignment anymore. And we don't need to make that right or wrong. It just is. Right. And it's not
Mm.
serving anybody to stay in that type of relationship, because the truth is, if you're staying in a relationship that is out of alignment for you, it is also out of alignment for that other person. That's just the way energy works. And you're actually blocking them from opening themselves up to somebody else who's way more on their wavelength, and they're going to feel better in that relationship as well. Maybe their ego doesn't see it in this moment, but you can tell them to come back to you in a year, and they'll see it then, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, everybody deserves to be surrounded by people who truly are vibrational matches, because this is when we feel that we have these soul aligned relationships, right? So
Yeah.
I would say really thinking about, what am I afraid of? Bring that to the surface and ask yourself, is that really true?
Yeah, so powerful and such an important question. And again, I love that as well, your analogy or the way looking at endings. We do have this attachment like, oh, it's a bad thing. But no, like you say, it's a graduation. What have you learned? On to the next level. And as you mentioned, one of your beliefs there as well, your core beliefs, if not this, something better, the importance of having core beliefs and kind of a higher faith as well to bring us through things that we still have hope, of something else working out, of something better. And just maybe to expand and end the conversation on that, just talking about for a moment actually the infinite possibilities that do exist. And even if we in our limited mind might be so fixated on this one thing and, oh, it'll never happen or we'll never have the opportunity again. Can you just speak to the higher universal energy or whatever you want to call it, the quantum field of actually the infinite possibilities that exist?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, so this is such a good topic, and it's so important. And when you really integrate this, like, it is mind-blowing, right? Because the thing is, like, if you're coming from a quantum physics perspective and just really understanding everything as energy, if I can think of it, it exists somewhere in the field.
Mhm.
If it didn't exist somewhere in the field, I couldn't think of it, right? And I've just created it in thinking about it, right? And the one of the most common ways people block themselves with manifestation and attraction is they've just set their goals too small. They've
Mhm.
already decided what is and isn't possible. And so if you can expand your realm of possibility, now so much more can come in for you. So whenever I'm calling something in, I'm saying I want this or better, right? And oftentimes, if I'm talking to a client or a friend and they're saying, "Oh, I want to, I'm manifesting 20 people in this program." I'm like, "Why 20?" Right? Why not
Mhm.
50? Why not 100? Why not 200? And in asking those questions, you're realizing, "Oh, these are the places where I think I can only get this." Right? Like, where are you limiting yourself in what you're setting your sights on? And we do that all the
Mm.
time because we think we have these underlying beliefs of, oh, only this is possible, right? So when you are setting your intention, you can say this or something better, but whatever your this is, what it would look like if you 10x'd it? What if you thought bigger and just played around with that and allowed something even better to come in for you, right? Because
Yeah.
this goes back to the subconscious beliefs, the limiting beliefs, right? And the universe supporting in that, and in what you attract into your reality and what you experience, it's going to be based on those beliefs in your subconscious. And
Mhm.
so if I have an underlying belief that is, beneath conscious awareness, that it's not possible for me to make $1 million this year, well, that's what I'm going to experience, right? So just in those underlying beliefs that are limiting you, or you've decided this is possible and this isn't, that's where you've blocked yourself. And so if you can start to bring awareness to, what is it that I believe is possible here, right? What would it look like for me to think even bigger? What if anything was possible? What would I ask for? And start to anchor into that, right? And what you're saying around worrying, I just want to point this out because again, this is so simple, but this is what people do all the time. So whatever we're focused on, we energize. And so if I'm worrying about something I don't want, right? Like, I'm worrying about, I don't know, debt or being alone. What I'm sending out is debt, being alone,
Mhm.
right? That's the energy I'm emitting. And so what do you think I'm going to experience? right? And so I always say to people, like, what are you spending most of your time thinking about? Because most people are not spending most of their time thinking about what they do want. They're spending most of their time thinking about what they don't want. So if you can start to, spend 90% of your time thinking about what you do want and far less thinking about what you don't want, then naturally your reality is going to shift because what you focus on expands.
Yeah, it's so true. And it comes back to, again, even taking the time and coming out of that cycle and allowing ourselves a moment to like dream, to use our imagination again, to go beyond what we've maybe seen someone else do. Because, like you say, this is what we do. We're like, oh, but that's not possible. Or I've never seen anyone in my family or in my friends or anything achieve that. So, it's not possible for me. But actually, it is. But we need to go beyond the thinking mind. Like you say, 10x it, aim big, as they say as well. If you aim for the moon and land on a star, you're not going to be sorry. Or maybe it's the other way around, something like that. But, and I know that was me as well. I didn't play into my imagination. I didn't allow myself to dream enough. I used to dream to the level that I thought was possible for me, which that doesn't work either because that's so limited. So it is, but it's like you mentioned as well, going into those deeper inner beliefs, subconscious beliefs that we carry and changing there on that level. So then we can attract new possibilities in. And so much you've shared in the conversation, and so much more I could delve into and talk about. But maybe just as a last question, and you've shared a lot, but maybe just even summarizing them or some of the tips, you may have mentioned them, or if there's any other, some top tips for people to really shift into the energy of different possibilities.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is if you can take 10 to 30 minutes a day to just be with yourself and let yourself dream, like, and explore, like, you will notice a huge shift in your reality, right? And just bringing awareness to what you're thinking about, and keep asking yourself, why do I believe that? Well, why have I decided that? Where am I deciding for other people? And just getting yourself in that space of like creativity, which I think anytime you can imagine, daydream, like that's some really valuable time, what I really think is I have a resource. It's called the 5D Ascension Activator, and it's a free course. And I really encourage people to get started with that. It's totally free. And if you watch these lessons, it's basically 30 lessons that are really foundational principles for raising your frequency. If you just show up to that, you're going to know what to do because they're action items. They're all channeled messages, but your entire reality is going to shift. And so I like to offer that as a resource because it's kind of like, hey, just step into this container, watch the videos, and you'll be guided through it. Because I know that this can feel like a lot, just like a lot of these shifts and things to think about, right? But I would start to think about, if you have one thing that you are looking to attract into your life, maybe that is in the realm of love, maybe that is in the realm of friendships or career or health. Start with one area and make a list of all of your beliefs around receiving it, or why is it going to be difficult, what's going to be required of you, what's it going to mean when you get that thing. So just bringing awareness to a lot of those beliefs, and then asking yourself, what would it look like for me to live as the person that already has what I want, and starting to notice the gap between what that would look like for you to live in that way, to be that person, and where you're at right now. For me, I think about with my sickness, so much of what kept me sick was I was living like somebody who's sick. I was identifying as that, right? If you can shift your identity into what you do want, it comes straight to you, right? If I identify as somebody who has chronic illness, I'm going to have it. So I had to shift my identity around it. And I also realized, oh, I'm telling myself I eat this stuff because I have chronic illness, not just because I want to, because I have chronic illness. Oh, I don't want to go to that event because I'm probably going to be tired because of my autoimmune disease. So I realized my entire life was built around this identity of a sick person. And so I had to start doing the things that I said I was going to do when I got healthy, right? So I made a list of all the stuff that I said, at the time. One of it was, I'm going to get back into dating. And I thought, screw it. Like, I'm just going to start dating now, right? And because that was something that in my head, I thought, once I get over this, then I'll do that. And I said, I just got to do it now, right? I got to live like I'm healthy. And it was changes like that helped my body heal, and because I wasn't thinking about being sick all the time. So
Yeah.
that's an example. I would just start with one area of your life and just starting to bring awareness of how you're allowing yourself to stay in the situation you're at, and what would it look like for you to shift your identity and to become the person that you really want to be, and to live as them, not tomorrow, not next week, not after I do XYZ, but today, and start to take action in alignment with that.
Yeah. So true. Again, as you said at the start, what we're keeping our energy or our focus or our consciousness on is what grows. And that unfortunately is often what happens, especially when it comes to illness or money or things like this. We keep battling with the illness or the money as opposed to shifting into, well, how do I want to feel or how do I want it to look? And just one really last quick question that popped into my head there as well that you were asking. How important is feeling as well when it comes to manifestation?
Oh, I mean, feeling is everything, right? Our emotions are everything. And so that's like a fast track for sure to attracting what you want. If you sit for, I mean, just a couple minutes will do it, right? But anywhere between like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want, an hour, and you are feeling the feelings that you're going to feel when you have what you want, right? So for me, I'll
Mhm.
visualize, I'm already in it. I like go through my whole day, I'll visualize it, and I'm feeling that vibration in my body, right? So I'm feeling that love, that excitement, that pleasure, that joy. And the more I'm in that energy, now I'm attracting more of that frequency to me, right? And so that's
Yeah.
why visualizations can be really helpful. Is in allowing us to feel those energies in our body. And the more you can carry that throughout your day, you're going to notice that you attract things in quite easily as well. And some of the problems arise when what people do is they spend like 10 minutes manifesting, right? Like that spot,
Feeling
working
it
on one.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
going
And
through chaos for the day.
exactly. And then the rest of your day, you're cranky, you're tired, you're yelling at people.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going to allow me to hold this frequency throughout my day? And so that's why I talk a lot about, I refer to it as setting my frequency in the morning. So, because if I set my frequency and I anchor into that, I view my entire day differently. So for me, what that looks like is the first few hours of my day are just about me. I like to go on a walk in nature. I like to talk to my guides. I like to, set my intentions and decide, how do I want to feel today? I like to sit with that energy and let myself feel that right then, right? And I'm anchoring into that. I like to listen to a high frequency piece of content. For me, that's usually a channeled message, or I'll channel a bit, and just kind of reflect on what's coming up. And I consciously choose to set my frequency for the day. I decide, how do I want to feel today? What am I creating today? What's the frequency I'm anchoring into? And then I hold on to that and I move through the rest of my day from that vibration, versus going into my day kind of unconsciously, just frazzled and reacting. It makes a huge difference, and you perceive the rest of your day completely differently, which then allows you to hold that frequency.
Yeah, super important as well. And again, so much we could go on about, but please share where people can find out more about your work. And if you have that link as well to the 5D Ascension Activator, I'll gladly share it on the show notes as well on my website.
Yeah, perfect. So everything from me is at Christina the Channel everywhere. So if you go to christinathechannel.com, all of my offerings and freebies are right there. And we'll send you the specific link for the 5D Ascension Activator, but it'll be right there under freebies on my website. And then you can find me on Instagram at Christina the Channel, YouTube Christina the Channel. I have a podcast that I've been doing for about 6 years. It's just called the Christina the Channel Podcast. And then I have my upcoming book, which I'm so excited about. And if you really want to learn the energetics of attraction and you really want to understand manifestation and do some of this root cause work, I can't recommend it enough. It is a channeled text that really goes into how energetic attraction truly works. It's a very comprehensive guide, and it's very tangible and very practical. So it gives you specific things to ask yourself, to do, to look at. So yeah, that book is called Manifestation Mastery, and it is going to be on pre-sale on January 20th and really for sale on February 2nd. And if anybody wants to learn more about that, get their hands on it, they can go to christinathechannel.com/book, and all of the information will be right there.
Brilliant. Thank you so, so much for sharing today and sharing so much wisdom and knowledge. And like that, I will have links as well to your website and books and different bits as well in the show notes. And just thank you so much. It was wonderful. And like that, I could have kept talking for ages, but thank you.
Thank you so much. No, this was an incredible conversation. So thank you for having me.